My dad, who's always been the strongest person I've ever known, not just physically, but I've never really seen him get upset in the sense of breaking down and not being able to handle a situation. And I've always seen him compete for me. But the one moment in my life where I really felt alone, because my dad was always there, and he competed for me often. But when I had to go into surgery for my leg, right before I went into surgery, I saw a side of my dad I've rarely ever seen. He came in, and I'll never forget it. He kissed me on the cheek and told me he loved me. And we, you know, everyone has different relationships. People express how they feel different ways. We don't do that. Me and my dad, you know, it's just not how we are a lot of times. Usually it's by going and playing a sport or, you know, but when he leaned over, I could see that he was just like me in that moment, where I had to place my, you know, who I was in the hands of this doctor, and my dad had to do the same thing. And they asked him to walk out, so he just kissed me on the cheek and he said, "I love you, son," and he walked out. And for me, that was a moment to see again that even though I couldn't compete in the sport he taught me, I was still his weak spot. You know, I still had that soft spot in his life, and he's still proud of who I was. I'll never forget the moment I woke up from surgery and I was assisted into a wheelchair. And I remember looking down the hallway, and I was very frustrated because I realized that on my own strength, I couldn't even walk down this hallway. And it was during that time in my life that I finally started to realize maybe I was going about everything the wrong way. Maybe basketball isn't about me. Maybe God wants something different from my life. And I began to ask God, what do you want me to do? And believe it or not, you know, during the hardest time of my life is when God gave me the greatest gift I have today to reach out to other people. And that's, you know, simply just by doing basketball tricks.
Is your identity based on who you are or what you do? If it's what you do, that can change. But if it's who you are, a child of the Most High God, then God can develop the gifts that He's placed on the inside of you, and you can be all that.
During a lot of those times when I was falling apart, you know, especially probably one of the hardest times was after getting back up on my feet, and years later, after all the different things that went on, and when I began to play with the Harlem Globetrotters and went through that year of playing with them, and they selected me as a star ball handler, all this stuff felt so great. And if I could have picked any spot on the team, that was the one I had. I was so excited about it, but it couldn't last because my leg was still bothering me. I went in trying out in pain. I knew people who cared about me and wanted to encourage me were still telling me, what are you going to do if you make the team? They weren't trying to discourage me from trying,
Right.
But they were saying, you know, let's be realistic. You have a hard time playing pickup basketball at the YMCA right now with teenagers. How are you going to play a season with professionals? And what happened was I couldn't finish, and I came home. And again, I felt like I let everybody down. I played almost a year. That I remember laying in my bed after I had gotten home. And again, I was at that place where I didn't know what to do. And I can honestly say I felt like I was laying in a coffin when I was laying in my bed. Because all the hype and the excitement of that year was so unreal that then reality kicked back in, and I was just a normal everyday person, staying at someone's house, renting out a room, no job, and trying to decide what was I supposed to do next. And I felt like I let God down again. And I do remember specifically laying in that bed and just crying out to God. And there were no tears involved. I was kind of past the emotional point of it. I was just tired. And I wasn't very emotional about it, but I just remember just saying, God, I don't know what to do anymore. I've tried my best. I just want to please you. And I don't know where to go from here. I need you to show me what to do. And doors began to open.